Hello, today we're going to do some quick notes just to remind you how to simplify expressions and solve equations. So go ahead and copy this down on page 13 in our interactive notebook, Simplifying Expressions, and copy down please. Before an equation is ready to solve, we must look for terms to combine or simplify. So you have to start by simplifying before it's actually ready to solve. So start by looking for numbers to distribute. That's going to be the first thing you want to look for. So I know that I need to distribute that 2 because it's on the outside of these parentheses. So we saw that a couple of lessons ago, but here we see it with solving equations as well. So I'm going to simplify by distributing that 2 in. So I distribute it to the x first, that gives me 2x, and then 2 times positive 4 gives me 8. So notice I'm not writing out every single step like we did in that first lesson. You can just write your results from multiplying that in. So we multiply the 2 times the x to get 2x. 2 times positive 4 is positive 8. And notice on the side over here, as soon as I did it, I wrote down what I did. So we used the distributive property right there. So let me zoom in a little bit so that you can see what we did. So we used the distributive property first, and then after that, it's just a regular equation. So I draw the line, circle the variable, and I work farthest away. The farthest thing away from this variable is the 8, so I will subtract that from both sides since they added. Bring down everything we have left, and that means we bring down the 2x, recopy down the equal sign, and 20 minus 8 is 12. I got there using the subtraction property of equality because I subtracted from both sides. We still have another step to do because I see x is not by itself, so I'll circle it again. And this time we see we have to divide both sides by 2 because they multiplied, so we always do the opposite. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. So when I divide, the 2's cancel out to a 1, and I'm just left with 1x, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. And I got there by dividing on both sides, so that's the distributive property of equality. Main point here is that you do have to distribute before solving. On to the other way to simplify. So please copy down. We also need to look for like terms. Like terms have the same variable and exponent, so we can combine their coefficient. In other words, the numbers in front. So here's an example of that. 2x plus 3x plus 5 equals 20 is our given. So we see our like terms here have the same letter. The 2x and the 3x both have x's, so I can combine those. I cannot combine that with the 5 because the 5 does not have an x. But 2x's plus 3x's together make 5x's, and I got there by combining like terms. That would be my reason to the side. Now that I've combined like terms, I see that there's no other terms to combine, there's no other distributive property, so now it's ready to solve. So notice I don't draw in my line and circle the letter until I'm done combining like terms or distributing. So I draw the line, circle the variable, farthest away is the plus 5, so I do the opposite, I subtract 5 from both sides. We rewrite what we have left, these cancel out, and I have 5x equals 15. I got there by subtracting, so that's the subtraction property of equality. I still see that x has a number attached to it, so I need to get rid of it. So circle the x again, and this time it's attached, so that's multiplication. The opposite of multiply is divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, cancels out, and all I'm left is 1x equals, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. And I got there using the distributive property of equality. Sorry, division property of equality. All right, again, main point here is that we do need to combine like terms or distribute before it's ready to solve. Over on page 14, directly across from this, I'd like you to write down the example. 2 times the quantity 3x minus 4 equals 22, and that's your given. I want you to solve this one on your own. That is one of your homework problems. Number 2 I'll do with you as just another example. Now here we have negative 5 times the quantity x minus 2 equals 10. We know we have to distribute because there's a number outside of parentheses, but this time that number is a negative 5. So I distribute in a negative 5. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. And careful here because negative 5 times negative 2 is going to give me positive 10. So that is really the trickiest one. I would like you to highlight that second distribution there, because that's really the trickiest one. Making sure that if you're distributing in a negative, you pay attention to the signs. Negative times a negative is a positive 10. Now that I have that, and that's the distributive property, I don't have any other distributions to do. I don't have any combining like terms. So now I draw the line and circle the variable. All right, so in circling the variable, we see the farthest thing away is the plus 10, so we get rid of that first. Instead of plus 10, we minus 10 from both sides. Plus 10 minus 10 crosses out to 0, but I still have the negative 5x that I'm going to bring down. Copy down my equal sign, and 10 minus 10, again, is 0. I got there by subtracting, so that's the subtraction property of equality. I still see that x has something by it, so I'm going to circle that. And it's next to it, which means multiply, so I have to divide both sides by negative 5. Divide by negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is positive 1. I'm left with 1x equals, and 0 divided by anything is still 0. Got there with the division property of equality. Number 3 is also your homework. 2 times the quantity 3x plus 4 minus 2x equals 20 is your given. And I'll do one like that with you. So notice in this one, number 4, 4y minus 3 times the quantity y plus 2 equals 10 is our given. So this time I know I have to distribute first because I see a number directly outside of parentheses. So I'm going to distribute that number in. Now this one's easy. Negative 3 times y is going to just be negative 3y. And I just copy down the 4y because that one's not involved in this group yet. So negative 3 times y gives us negative 3y. But be careful when you distribute here. Negative 3 times positive 2 is going to give us negative 6. So be careful of that second distribution. Again, you might want to just highlight the second distribution that you do every time, just to make sure that you really paid attention to those signs. And I got there using the distributive property. Now that I'm done with that, I see I'm done with distributing, but I still have some like terms to combine because both of these have y's. So 4y minus 3y is easy. That's just going to give me 1y. And I got there by combining like terms. Now I have no more like terms. I have no more distributive property to apply. So I'm going to draw the line, circle the variable, and do the opposite. This time it's just a simple one-step equation. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And we end up getting y equals 16 using the addition property of equality. Notice the property of equality part only applies when we do the same thing to both sides. All right, so that's our simplifying expressions page. Again, you have numbers 3 and 1 to do for homework on page 14. And we are going to write some notes on page 15 as well, solving equations, just to recap what we've already been talking about in the last few lessons. So solving equations just means to get back to where we started. To undo operations that were done to the variable, we work backwards. Start with the number farthest away, then step your way back to the variable. So that's important to note, that you need to start with the number farthest away. That's how you know what to start with. It's the last one that was done in the order of operations, so then we work backwards. So please go ahead and write down the steps that we have been writing in our packets. Remember, step 1, draw the line down from the equal sign. Step 2, circle the variable. Step 3, look for the number farthest away from the variable, but on the same side. And step 4, use inverse or opposite operations. And we have those written down in our vocabulary page just in case you need to reference that. Then notice I do have a repeat here because you'll just continue with all the operations you could get. Again, you just draw the line, circle the variable, look farthest away, do the opposite. Draw the line, circle the variable, look farthest away, do the opposite. And you just keep up with this process until the variable is completely isolated. So for example, right here is just another 2-step. We have 2x minus 3 equals 15 as our given. There's no combining like terms, there's no distributive property, so I go ahead and draw the line, circle the variable, look farthest away, and do the opposite. The opposite of minus 3 is plus 3. I do that to both sides. That will eliminate this one. Those are additive inverses, so they eliminate to 0, and I bring down what I have left. The 2x gets brought down, equals now 18 because of the addition property of equality. I still see that x has a number attached to it, so I'm going to circle it again, draw the line if I need to, and do the opposite. This time it's attached, so I'm going to divide It's like dividing it off of that letter. It's attached, so I have to divide it off. So I divide both sides by the same number. 2 over 2 cancels out to a 1. 18 over 2 reduces down to 9. And we got there using the division property of equality. All right, on to your last problems. I won't be going through every single one of these with you, but please copy down number 1 on this page. So now we are on page 16. Number 1 is 2x plus 1, all divided by 3 equals 5 as you're given. Number 2, 2/3 x minus 4 equals 6 is your given. And number 3, 3x plus 4 equals 31 is your given. That is your homework tonight. Your homework tonight is not on My Open Math. It is these problems in the interactive notebook. Remember, watch this again if you need help, and otherwise, send me a message, email me, or just continue trying problems on My Open Math. Thanks.